Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello all. Welcome to our third lecture. This is the continuation of consumer behavior. What we have done in our last lecture, we have discussed about how an individual derives their demand curve, how the consumers try to find the best possible combination, a bundle of two commodities based on their utility, that is called the satisfaction. um, with one unit change in consumption of one product, how much their satisfaction changes. That is marginal utility. The We have done the graphical representation of marginal utility and total utility. Total utility first increases. We first like consuming certain food. We reach a maximum and then we start disliking it, and then our marginal utility goes to negative when we start feeling bad about furthermore consumption of a particular commodity. Then the marginal utility goes to the zero and then negative. um, we have understood, we have learned about reveal preference theory. In the reveal preference theory, we tried to understand several assumptions associated with that. um, that how an individual discloses his or her preference for a particular commodity or a group of commodities or different combinations of a commodity, how they maintain their satisfaction level similar, how an indifference curve is derived with different combinations of commodity X and commodity Y to get a same kind of satisfaction throughout. um, and the certain, conditions of or characteristics of indifference curve, that it will be convex to the origin, following the diminishing marginal rate of substitution, that when you consume one commodity more and more, you substitute, you give up, you forego the other commodity at a higher rate. So diminishing marginal, so at a lower rate, sorry, diminishing marginal rate of substitution. So when I consume more and more of X, I will sacrifice less and less of Y. That rate of sacrifice, that I consume one unit extra X, how much Y I will sacrifice, because I'm on the same indifference curve, I need to have same satisfaction. So that rate is known as marginal incremental rate of substitution. When X is increased, how much Y will decrease. And then that rate at which Y decreases, that diminishes, that reduces, because the utility, when you when you consume one commodity more and more, the utility coming out of that commodity continuously decrease. And when you are having less and less of one commodity, your requirement, your derived satisfaction from that commodity will increase, right? So that is why it is diminishing marginal rate of substitution, which gives you a convex curve to the origin for your indifference curve. And we have understood that two indifference curves should not or must not intersect each other. Indifference curve can also be straight line for two commodities which are perfect substitutes, like say Dolu and Crucin, maybe cow milk and buffalo milk. So if two commodities are perfectly substitute, then it can be like say Coca-Cola and Pepsi. uh, then the indifference curve will be a straight line, downward sloping straight line by downward sloping, because again, marginal rate of substitution, it is negative. Your marginal rate of substitution is constant, because for every unit of X, you are sacrificing the same equal unit of Y, if not the same, equal the rate at which you are, substituting one commodity to the other, that remains constant. Whereas for these perfect complementary goods, what happens? We get L-shaped indifference curve. where it is like one right shoe, one left shoe, two right shoes, two left shoes, three right shoes, three left shoes. So it's an L-shaped curve. So we stopped here, and from here we will start our discussion. Um, so I introduce myself. I am Dr. Angan Sengupta, an assistant professor with Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, with the Department of Management, and I welcome you all on behalf of Channel 15 for the Swayamprabha program. So we will start our class discussing with budget line, that we say that when an individual chooses their combination of two commodities which gives them highest amount of satisfaction, or say when they have different choices, so which will be the best choice, so they often take the decision based on the constraints they have. So over here the constraint they have is the budget line. So as you know, we have discussed that economics teaches us how to take the best decision when we do not really access everything, like the resource constraints, supply constraints, so we cannot satisfy all our wants, all our desires. So even now if we say that more is better, and utility, higher the utility, higher we move to the higher indifference curve with more satisfaction, but we cannot gain everything because we have a limitation over here that is called as budget constraint. Now, what is a budget constraint? A budget constraint is your budget, your income, using which you will buy two commodities. Now, theoretically, we do not have any concept of saving. We consume both the commodities or one of the commodities, whatever, spending the entire income. Now, taking an example, if I have 100 rupees, 100, if I have 100 rupees, my I stands for income is 100. PX is price of apple. Let us assume that that is 20 rupees. Price of Y, that is orange. Let us assume that is 10 rupees. So for 100 rupees, if I am buying only apples, so I can buy 20 into 5, but I don't have any money left to buy oranges. So 5 apples and 0 oranges. If I am buying 4 apples, then 20 into 4, 80, and I have 20 rupees left, and I can buy 2 oranges, 2 into 10. So 4 apples, 2 oranges. Same for 3 apples, 3 into 20, 60. I have 40 rupees less left. I can buy 4 oranges. So 3 apples, 4 oranges. So I go like this: 5 apples, 0 orange. 4 apples, 2 orange. 3 apples, 4 orange. 2 apples, 6 orange. Like that. Similarly, if I do not buy any apple, then how many oranges I can buy? 100 divided by 10. I can buy 10 oranges. So that means all these combinations: 5, 0, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 6, 1, 8, and 0, 10. All these combinations, if you combine them together, you will get budget line. So it says that how many of two commodities you can buy given a certain budget. So you can buy, and when you connect them, combine them, you will get a budget line. Now, where this budget line, or the other way is like, say, you can connect these 2 points as a straight line. The points are on x-axis and y-axis. That means on x-axis is when you are buying only apple and not oranges. So how many apple you can buy? So I is 100, your budget, divided by 20 is the price of apple. So 100 divided by 20. So I by px over here, I by px is nothing but 5. Over here, 100 by 10. So you can buy 10 oranges. So this is 10. So 100 by 10 is the number of oranges you can buy when you are not buying any apples. So, and you combine both of them and you get your budget line. The slope of the budget line is given as the ratio of price of X and price of Y, and it is minus because it is always negative. That's because with the budget constraint, you cannot buy more of both the goods. So you buy one extra for one good, and you have to reduce consumption on other goods, right? So that the balance is maintained. So that is why slope is negative. So if I buy commodity X more, I will sacrifice commodity Y. So there is a balance. I buy brinjal, I do not buy gobi. So it's like that. So, in order to gain a consumer equilibrium, we will try to bring these two angles together. So, my constraint and my desire. So, my desire is to get the maximum satisfaction, the highest satisfaction, and my constraint is the budget constraint, that I cannot get maximum satisfaction even if I wish to. So, given my budget constraint, how much satisfaction I can gain at max. So that means over here, let us see in this diagram, I have got three indifference curves. Now there are thousands of indifference curve, right? So let us keep it simple. We have got three indifference curves, and we have one single budget line. On this point A, what we see that we are spending the entire budget, whatever money we have, we are spending everything, and we are on this budget line, and we are on indifference curve one, and we are spending this much of Y and this much of X. So this is one combination, right? When we come to E, from A to E, we are here also, we are spending the entire. So forget about E. Okay, fine. On this point, somewhere over here beneath E. So over here. So here, we are again inefficient because we are not spending the entire money. So if we spend the entire money, there is no concept of saving. So if we are spending the entire money, we can gain more of X and Y, and hence we can move to the higher indifference curve. So why won't we do that? So we will naturally not be anywhere beneath the budget line. We'll try to be on the budget line. So if we are on the budget line, we can see that this we can move from A to E, and on E we see that even though we are spending the entire budget on A, but on E we are on a higher indifference curve. So that means that we are attaining a better satisfaction level. So we will try to move to E. Now, being on indifference curve 2, IC2, can we move to point B? We cannot move to point B, because even if the combinations are indifferent from each other, whatever combination I do have on B and whatever combination I do have on E, the combinations are similar to each other in terms of satisfaction, but I cannot afford that because that is beyond my budget, right? As here is no concept of saving, similarly here is no concept of taking any loan, right? So I cannot move to B. So E, which is nothing but the which is nothing but the tangent between the indifference curve and one indifference curve and the budget line, I will get my equilibrium point, which will give me the optimal combination of two commodities, X and Y, Rasgulla, Gulab Jamun, you know, apple, orange, whatever. So that will give me the best combination of these two commodities. Now, so this is how we can gain a satisfaction, right? So moving from here, that our purchase decision changes with the price of these commodities. As we saw that the budget is dependent, the budget line is estimated in terms of the price of two commodities, price of X into the quantity of X plus price of Y into the quantity of Y. So if the price of one changes, that means my income, whatever I can buy, that is called real income, with that income which I have, right? So if the price of an apple is 20 rupees and I can buy 5 apples, now if the price of an apple is 12.5 rupees, I can buy 8 apples. So naturally, my purchasing power, the amount I can buy with a given income, that increases, right? So my demand, my purchase capacity, my uh, consumer behavior. uh, so that varies with price, right? So let us see how price changes our the shape of our budget line. So what happens when price increases? Then you can see the budget line pivots inside, right? Say, let's say the price of Apple was 10 rupees, and with 100 rupees income or budget, I can buy sorry, price of an the thing is 10 rupees apple, and with 100 rupees budget I can buy 10 apples. Now we have found that the price of uh, apple has become 20 rupees. So px to px prime, now how many I can buy? I can buy only 5. So you see that on this diagram I by px is 100 by 10, that is 10. Over here I by px prime is 100 by 20, that is 5. So your and nothing changes for price of y, so price of oranges. So the budget line shifts or pivots inside. Just the opposite happens when the price falls. When I have a higher my price say decreases. Now price of I have 70 rupees. Price of a rasgulla is 5 rupees. I can buy 14. Or price of rasgulla is 7 rupees. I can buy 10. Now price has decreased after this corona outbreak and all. So they want to gain business. Now price has decreased to 5 rupees. How many I can get? 14. 14 into 5 is 70. So now this I by px prime over here is 14. 70 by 5. I by px is 10, right? 70 by 7. So when price falls from 7 to 5, price of rasgulla, the budget line of rasgulla shifts or pivots outside, because the purchasing power of those consumers are now increasing, right? So the impact of price change can be decomposed into two components. One is substitution effect, another one is income effect. Substitution effect and income effect. The substitution effect always follows law of demand. I have not yet taught you law of demand. The next class we will discuss about law of demand. But for the sake of this, today's lecture, I will tell you about briefly about what is law of demand. So before going to the law of demand, so change of price has you know impact on the demand or the quantity of consumption consumed of a particular commodity, but it has got two components. One is substitution effect, another one is income effect. So price effect on the change of consumption has two components: income effect and substitution effect. So, what is the law of demand? Law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity. Price of a good and quantity demanded of that good, or the same. So, what does it mean? If my price rises, the price rises of an egg, my quantity demanded for egg will decrease. Price decreases for egg, my quantity demanded for egg will increase. Last year there was onion price, right? A lot of memes and all this on onion price. So price of onion increased, the demand for onion decreased. Price of onion decreases, the demand for onion will increase. So this is how it happens, right? So the demand for a commodity depends upon the price, but and there is a certain condition, or just one condition, that everything else remains constant. That is called as ceteris paribus. Everything else means price of any other commodity, where the income, the weather condition, the choice, everything else remains constant. So just price changes and how much quantity changes. That it has an inverse relationship. Naturally, price rises, quantity demanded falls, price falls, quantity demanded rises. When you plot this for each and every price, how much is the quantity demanded, when you plot and again connect them with a line, that is known as demand curve, which shows diagrammatically, graphically, which represents the demand schedule. That is the relationship between price on the vertical axis and or y axis, and quantity demanded on the x-axis or the horizontal axis. Coming back to consumer behavior again. So the substitution effect involves the substitution of one good, say for good X, for another good, for good Y, or the vice versa, good Y for good X. So apple for orange, orange for apple. When there is a change in relative price, why they are saying relative price? You remember the budget line is Py by Px, so or Px by Py. So one price change, the relative price, one price of one commodity changes, so the relative price changes. So these are so whenever the price of one commodity changes, the composition impacts the consumption of both the commodities, right? So that is the substitution effect. The income effect results from an increase in or decrease in consumer's real income. That means when price changes, say I said that how many I can buy, right? That purchasing power that varies. So when price falls, my purchasing power for Apple to buy Apple increases. The price of Apple increases, my purchasing power to buy those apples decreases because my income, my resources are fixed. That is constant. That does not change. So if my price changes, how many I can buy. So the income effect is the change in the consumer's real income given the change in price and hence the purchasing power. So when we combine this income effect and substitution effect together, that is known as price effect. Now this price effect is decomposed into substitution effect and income effect in two methods. One is Hicksian method, another one is Slutsky method. The Hicksian method is the first one. It was propounded by Hicks, who is a Nobel laureate. Both Hicks and Slutsky are uh, so, so Higgs with arrow, he got his Nobel Prize. So the first one is Hicksian method, where they say that the theoretically it's like if there is a falling price, what happens? The curve shifts, the budget line moves outside, pivots outside, but essentially we'll try to keep the consumer's real income fixed. Yes, and if I am trying to keep the consumer's real income, then we are also trying to get that consumer back to the same original indifference curve. So if we are trying to get the consumer back to the original indifference curve, remember X is for original, the consumer is coming back to the original indifference curve. So price falls, the consumers purchasing power increases, but then we try to keep the real income constant, and we try to get that consumer in the same on the same indifference curve, right? Well, from where we started. Let us see diagrammatically what happens. Say this is a pure equilibrium diagram where there are two commodities X and Y. AB is the budget line on AB. So let's call it point P. This equilibrium, let's call it point P because the following diagrams we have named it P over here. I'm sorry, I forgot. So the indifference curve one is tangent to this budget line AB, and we get an optimal bundle. What we observe that when there is a change in price or fall in price to be specific, the budget line pivots from AB to AB prime, right? The budget line pivots from AB to AB prime. So they are moving outside, that means price has decreased. Once the price has decreased, we see that with the shifting or pivoting of this budget line, the consumer demand satisfaction level, which is shown by the indifference curve, satisfaction level increases because now they can buy more of X, probably more of Y2 because the purchasing power has increased, and hence the indifference curve will shift outside because more is better. They are now getting more, and the satisfaction is higher. So now the new equilibrium point shifts from point P to point Q, right? But what we try to do, so first it's shifted from AB to AB prime, and then the equilibrium shifts from P to Q, IC1 to IC2. Now, the most important point is that to keep the real income same, we get this the budget line back to the same indifference curve. So their satisfaction is remaining same, the real income is same. So it is being shifted inside, the modified budget line is being shifted inside parallel to that modified budget line. So now this is my A from A B prime, it shifts inside to A double prime B double prime. So it's written A prime B prime, it will be A double prime B double prime. What we see over here, A double prime B double prime, so this is my new budget line, and it has to be tangent on the previous indifference curve, right? It has to be tangent on the previous indifference curve. Naturally you will get a new equilibrium. Why? Because the px by py, the slope has changed for the budget line. The previous slope was AB prime, and naturally the slope was, you know, steep. That's primarily because price of x has fallen, so the numerator has decreased, denominator remaining same. So the budget line is more flatter, and hence it shifts from AB prime or AB to A double prime B double prime, and that is where we see that now the new equilibrium is on point R. Now the most important thing over here is we see that the substitution is the price effect is when the price falls from AB and takes the budget line to AB prime, and the price effect is the commodity consumption or at x1, that is the x1 is the total quantity of commodity consumed, and at q, x2 is the quantity consumed. So this gap is the price effect x1 to x2, because this change in the consumption of x is happening because of the change in price or falling price. Now what we observe that from between this P to R, they are on the same indifference curve, but just because we are keeping the real income same and trying to keep them on the same satisfaction level, what we observe that the consumption of X has moved from X1 to X3. This movement on the same indifference curve, after keeping the satisfaction the satisfaction level same, utility same, and the budget line, that's the real income budget line, shifting inside the real income keeping same, we see that x1 to x3 is the substitution happening, right? So and hence if you take the subtraction between x1 x2 2 and x1 x3, that is the price effect minus substitution effect, we get x3 x2, that is the income effect, where the real income is changing, right? So sorry, real income is trying to be kept fixed constant, but we are trying to gain the same satisfaction. So the when we are trying to gain the same satisfaction from where we started and where we ended, so that is the substitution effect. And the while we are trying to, the change we make while trying to keep the real income same is nothing but the income effect, which is shown here by x3 x2. So x1 x2 price effect is a combination of x1 x3, that is the substitution effect, and x3 x2, that is nothing but the income effect, right? So as we say that the demand curve are derived using this, this consumer behavior reveal preference theories. There are two types of demand curve. One is Marshallian demand curve, what we have discussed. Just the change in price will cause change in quantity demanded, and hence we see that when price is increasing, quantity demanded falling. And then Alfred Marshall expected that there will be some differences in satisfaction, but at the same time they will go with the market, and then they will find their best satisfaction, they will find their equilibrium. So so they will try to utilize their maximize their utility while bargaining with the suppliers. So when the price, the quantity of the commodity that is being demanded varies with price as well as sometimes with income or some other products price, then that is a simple normal demand curve called a Marshallian demand curve, where Hicksian demand curve has a condition. The condition is the utility has to remain fixed, right? So for each price, however the quantity demanded, if we are trying to keep the utility same, then we combine all these points and we get a Hicksian demand curve. Coming to this diagram, we have just stretched it over here. Over this x1 is qx1, x2 3 is qx3, and x2 is qx2. So over here, this is a indifference curve diagram, or the consumer equilibrium, where there are two commodities and we are trying to match the indifference curve between those two commodities and the budget line. We try to find the optimum combination of x and y. Over here we are just taking x1, x2, x3, because we are trying to the price of x has changed and we are trying to understand the demand with the change in prices, and or to be specific, two types of demands with the change in prices. So the first one is, of course, with this over here, you can see the movement from P to Q has happened just because the price has dropped. So if the price has dropped by 1 unit, my commodity consumption has increased from X1 to X2. So if so that means that if price has dropped by 1 unit from P1 to P2, my commodity consumption has moved from X1 to X2. This is nothing but again the price effect, and this is nothing but the Marshallian demand curve, because over here P and Q, from this P and Q shows the commodity, the quantity of the commodities, and over here, as this is the demand curve, we are plotting price and quantity. And for P1, when the price was P1, they were buying X. When the price was P1, then they were buying X1 over here, QX1. When the price was P2, they were at Q and they were buying QX2. So this is the Marshallian demand curve, and you connect PQ and you get for P1 what was the quantity of X1, for P2 what is the quantity of X2. Connect them is the simple normal Marshallian demand curve. Whereas if you are considering the same utility level, so when they are on the same utility level, they have shifted to R. Now what is R? R is on the same indifference curve, and with the consideration of real income being kept same. Hence, this is like the, if you combine P and R, you get to see that with the change in price from P1 to P2, they are moving from P to R with the substitution effect, and that determines their Hicksian demand curve, that they are moving from X1 to X3 with the change in price, and hence this QX1 and QX3 and P1 and P2, connecting them. So these are the P1 for QX1, P2 for QX3. Connecting them, we get a Hicksian demand curve where the satisfaction level is remaining same. So over here you see that X star is the quantity demanded for X1 is a function of price of X1, price of X2, and N. So you are considering ceteris paribus. So basically the demand for X1 is actually a function of price of X1. Whereas for Hicksian demand curve, you are trying to keep the utility same. So the again the demand for X1 is a function of price of X1, but you are considering utility here. Okay. So the next method of decomposing price effect into substitution and income effect is known as Slutsky method. He was a Russian economist, was studying and working with the University of Kiev. He got entangled in the student movement, and then he was uh, basically expelled from University of Kiev and all this. So the Slutsky method is different from Hicksian method only in one way, that over here also price is falling, consumers real income still does not change, and we're trying to keep it fixed. And what happens, consumers income is adjusted so as So in Higgs, they were coming back to the same satisfaction level, same indifference curve. It was being tangent to the same indifference curve. Over here, they are trying to be, they are trying to, and this on Slutsky method, the new budget line will be on the same, will pass through that previous combination. So should incorporate the previous, the first original combination of X and Y, right? In, again, I repeat, in Hicksian demand curve, it is, they are just trying to get the same satisfaction. Here, the same combination. In Hicksian demand curve, the satisfaction is remaining same, and the combination was changing, right? Varying. Here, the combination is not varying. The combination is trying to be kept same. We will see what happens with the satisfaction. So they are trying to get the same original bundle, right? So again, I'm not going back. So if I go back for the Slutsky method, it starts with the same thing, so the price changes, and then the so not just this diagram, not this dotted line is there. So first the price falls, and then the budget line shifts outside, and then the indifference curve is there on the new budget line AB prime, the indifference curve 2, Q is the new equilibrium. Now is the change. Here you see the dotted line, right? In Higgs, you see that the dotted line is passing through. The dotted line is here passing, not passing through, making a tangent out of this indifference curve, the first indifference curve. Over here, it is passing through that indifference curve. It is passing through. No, so the Higgs was like this. Higgs was like this, a tangent over here. Slutsky is passing through. This is the main difference, okay? So the new budget line A double prime B double prime will pass through this, and the by that virtue, the consumer will attain a new indifference curve, which is above that indifference curve where the previous, or the first, before the price change, the consumer used to hold. So, and the same thing happens over here. So when the price changes, it moves from x1 to x2, and hence the equilibrium moves from P to Q. The price changes, falls for product X, and then it moves from P to Q, and x1 to x2 is the price effect. Whereas substitution effect is x1 to x3, because you can see that by the virtue of they are remaining in the same bundle of products, so they are attaining a higher indifference curve, but we are trying to adjust the real income in a way that they can buy the same commodities, the same combination, and hence they are eventually getting a new or higher indifference curve. That is IC3, and the equilibrium is given on R. So x1 to x3 is the substitution effect. Naturally, what is there left? That is x2, x3. That is nothing but the income effect, where we are trying to keep the real income same. So this is nothing but the changes from A B prime to A double prime B double prime. That is the equilibrium at point Q on A P prime, and the equilibrium on point R, that is A double prime B double prime. And hence x2, x3 is the income effect. And you can see that the price effect x1, x2 is a combination of x1, x3 and x3, x2 together. Income effect and substitution effect, or yeah. So what happens when the so this is only for the okay, sorry, yeah. So this is when we are discussing this holds on the true only for the normal goods. So what we observe here, if the goods is are inferior goods, so we see that the substitution effect is always, when we always follow the law of demand, and what we observe is, for income effect there are certain changes. So the what are the changes? The changes are when we follow a normal good, then they follow the law of demand, that is the price falls and the consumer should buy more. But when it is an inferior good, they defy the law of demand. So when price falls, so consumer should not buy more. Instead, they should buy less. Income effect. So the inferior good, when we have a higher income, we buy less of those inferior goods, right? So when price falls, consumer should buy less. For normal good, our income effect says that when price falls, consumer should buy more. Yes. So, but substitution effect, they always say that when we have the commodity we are consuming, the price falls, we will buy more. So what we observe that when the substitution effect dominates the income effect, then the consumer ends up buying more. Substitution effect dominates the income effect, the consumer ends up buying more. They follow the law of demand. Then those kinds of inferior goods are known as non-given goods. But if substitution effect is dominated by the income effect, substitution effect is smaller than income effect, then what happens? Then consumer ends up buying less, even if price falls. Consumers buy less. Those kinds of goods are known as given good, or more inferior good. In that case, even if price falls, consumer will buy less. Then that defies law of demand. So what determines that whether a commodity is given good or a non-given good? Income effect determines that, not price effect, substitution effect, right? Substitution effect always says that price has fallen, so you must buy more. That's the substitution effect, pure law of demand. But income effect is like depends upon how your income will suggest you to apply the value judgment, of that particular good or services. So if they are inferior good or non-given good, sorry, inferior good, then they will say your price has fallen, means you should not buy that. If they are non-given good, then that impact of income effect, that price has fallen, you should not buy that, is poorer than the given good or weaker than the given good, right? So if the income effect is stronger in case of given good, then that dominates substitution effect, and then they say that price has fallen, you should not buy more. If the income effect is weaker than substitution effect, then they say that prices have fallen, but then substitution effect is more powerful. Then they say no, even if you say that I should not buy more, I think we should buy more. So my substitution effect dominates the income effect's decision that no, I should not buy more. So, or then they finally end up buying more. Diagrammatically, if I can explain, in the next diagram, the left hand side is non-given good, and over here we see substitution effect is stronger than income effect. So what happens? So you see over here, when the price effect is x1 to x2, from this point to this point, p to q, x1 to x2, the substitution effect is from this point to this point, p2r. So x1 to x3, this is my substitution effect. And the income effect is x2 to x3. This is like this parallel shift of the budget line, ab prime to a double prime, b double prime. And my equilibrium has shifted from this point. So if you remember PQR, so this point to this point. So x2 to x3 is my income effect. So due to the change in the parallel shift of the budget line, real income adjustment, this is the substitution effect, right? Consuming the same, because of we are trying to consume the same commodity bundle what we are consuming initially before the price fall or decline in price. So this is the substitution effect. The substitution effect is x1 to x3. The income effect is x2 to x3. The price effect is x1 to x2. Now you see that income effect is x2, x3, which is smaller than the substitution effect, x1, x3, and then they will finally end up buying more, even if, so they will finally end up buying more, x1 to x2, even if price has fallen, right? And income effect says, no, you should not buy more. But because substitution effect is stronger, they are saying, no, you should buy more. They say that income effect, even if you say we should buy less, finally, my words are powerful. So they end up buying more. Just the opposite happens for given good. Income effect is more powerful than substitution effect, and then income effect dominates substitution effect. And you see that our price effect is from this point P to Q, that this black point, from this red point to black point, that is that x1 to x2. So the we finally end up buying less all the way from x1 to x2, even if the price is falling. So we purchase a commodity at a lesser amount when it is a given good, when income effect is stronger than substitution effect, even if price falls. Let us see what is the income effect over here. So first of all, let's see the substitution effect. The substitution effect is these two, that red point to blue point, that is x1 to x3, this one, the small one. When this parallel dotted budget line, A double prime, B double prime over here, they are shifting, keeping on the same combination of where my cursor is, same combination of my products. So when they have shifted inside, so we see that the so and so over here they are consuming the same commodity bundle, and over here they are trying to find a new equilibrium. So this is nothing but the substitution effect, x1 x3. The income effect is the new budget line after the price shift, and the modified budget line when we are trying to keep the real income same, or we are trying to consume the same combination. So this parallel movement has caused a shift from the consumption of from x3 to x2. So this is my income effect. So x3 to x2 is my income effect, x1 to x3 is my substitution effect. X1 and x3 being smaller than x3 to x2, we finally end up purchasing less even if the price has fallen, and hence it is a given good. The last we will discuss about the Slutsky equation in a very easy form. We see on the budget line AB, my budget line, if my income is given as M, so it is M1, the initial income M1 is a summation of price of X and quantity of X plus price of Y and quantity of Y. M2 is the summation of that is a new budget line, A double prime, B double prime, is nothing but the new price of X and multiplied by the amount of X plus price of Y multiplied by the amount of Y. So that is my new budget line when we are considering the PX star, the new price. What we see that when we are trying to adjust the income, so the change in real income is nothing but the change in price of X multiplied the amount of X I need to consume, right? So the change in money income needed to consume the original bundle of good at point P is nothing but the change in price multiplied by the change in the quantity. I mean that particular, so change in price multiplied by that particular commodity what I am consuming, that X amount, right? That is what by that. So when we are multiplying X, that is the quantity, with the change in price of X, we get the change in money that is needed to consume the original bundle, whatever we were consuming, right? Thus, how will we write in equation the price effect is nothing but the change in X. Again, naturally everything is changing X. So the change in X is the XD is the demand for X with PX star, the modified price, PY and M1, and minus XD, PX, PY, M1. Now you may wonder that why M1? It could be over here M2. No, here the change in price, the money is same. So we are not adjusting the money, right? So M2 is A double prime, B double prime. So over here we are not adjusting the money. So keeping the money income same or the budget same. So whatever the demand. So as I said, Marshallian demand theory, Marshallian demand equation is change in price, that's its impact on the change in quantity demanded. Nothing else is changing. So here, therefore, price of Y is not changing. My money income is not changing. So this is nothing but the demand caused by price of X star minus, that is the current demand, minus the previous demand with the previous price. So the quantity of demanded with the current price and the quantity demanded from the previous price. So that is nothing but the change in demand for X, so, and the price effect. The income effect is nothing but with the money changes. So now over here you can see M1 to M2. So so it is like this income effect. You remember that when the budget line shifts parallelly inside, to do this adjustment to consume the old combination of two commodities when it shifts inside, and we see that px star, that is the price of x, is remaining same, price of y. So this is the new price because both ab prime, when it shift pivoted from ab to ab prime, we are having a new price, that is px star. And when it is shifted to a double prime b double prime, from ab prime to a double prime b double prime, then also we are facing the new price, that is px star. We are just trying to adjust the real income. We are assuming that we will consume the same with the same combination of the commodities with the same price, this thing, with the same relative price. So this is nothing but my income effect. The same is the substitution effect. Nothing but the change in now px star px. Similarly, M2 and M1. So the from here to here, M2 to M1, and the price has also changed. Here, we're at point P, I was in PX. At point R, I have a new price, that is PX star. So this is substitution effect, both for my income, real income, as well as my price is changing. So this is my substitution effect. So this is nothing but the Slutsky equation, and you can estimate your price, the price effect, income effect, as well as substitution effect with change in price. Yes, thank you very much. I wish you stay safe, take care, all the best. We see you next time with demand theory and supply theory. Goodbye.